Morning. In the what? Sing it with me. This is my favorite part. Welcome back to Mind Your Biz. My name is Seth, and you're watching the full 360 roundup of the news. We're going to talk about Fed discounts. What is Vasil hard fork? What do we call it? The Vasilon, for those of you who speak Spanish. GPUs and profits, as well as 360 news. We're getting into all of it. Obviously, smash the like button. Be subscribed if you're not already subscribed. My analytics tell me that several of you are not subscribed when you tune in. We can fix that. We have the technology. You can figure out how to make that button explode, and I fully expect that you will do that. As we go over today's news, guys, this is the channel that you tune into when you want to read between the lines. Yes, there are news articles. Yes, there are press releases, and most people can't tell the difference between the two. And even when there's a roadmap for different projects, well, sometimes you just need a guide. Sometimes you need a Sherpa. Sometimes you need somebody who can help you see through all the nonsense. Appreciate you being subscribed. If you haven't already heard it from me lately, you're the reason I make this media. Let me drop into our little sub. There we go, CTA right there. Got additional music. Cleanse our palates there from that little opening mabob from our live stream. Yeah, we got to shake things up, guys. That's the one thing about the content game, is that it just does not allow you to stand still. So we're going to go through plenty of content today. This might be one of the longer live streams. Make no apologies, right? Like, this is what it takes sometimes for us to get through all of the amazing news that there is to go through. So expect this one to be about an hour, maybe a little bit longer than an hour. We got a lot of news to go through. We have portfolios to go through, which we're the only channel that does this, right? They're a paper tracker. I do not publish all of my holdings. I am not required by law to do so, but I do need to disclose when I have sponsorships, and I will always do that. I strongly recommend that you maintain privacy in your cryptocurrency holdings, and I'm going to lead from the front in doing that. I think that anybody who's trying to just lay out for you everything that they own in their cryptocurrencies, I think that they're leading you down the wrong path. And I've been saying for years now that we need more privacy. We need more privacy, not less. We don't need more transparency in everybody talking about their finance in cryptocurrencies. These are public ledgers. You're going to get your followers wrecked if you're the person that is insisting that everybody has to know exactly what you hold. All right, rant over. Let me jump into our fear and greed index. Current score of 22. We're down from yesterday's 23. This is not a big shock. We've been living in kind of a state of fear in the cryptocurrency markets for quite some time. And what does that have to do with the markets right now? Well, it has to do with some of our winners and losers. ethw is falling off a cliff, as we expected, right? Its 1 week performance is really bad. You can see the both the color and the percentage loss right there. Bitcoin, gold correcting, right? Like, we saw that come up. Of course, it had to correct. Raven as well, the price correcting. Matic, unfortunately correcting as well, even with all the partnership announcements. But with proof of work moving from Ethereum to all of these other coins, Raven, ethw, Ethereum Classic, it's a bummer to see that their prices have gone down so much. Let me appreciate you guys being here with us live. Do be sure that you not only smash the like button, but that you share this while we're live. This new channel is, we're going through some changes, right? Trying something new. This is different from what I've done in the past with Mind Your Biz. Expect more finished content. Expect for me to do a little bit more of the contrarian takes that I've done in the past. I've been able to hit targets, and I'm going to toot my own horn. I've been able to hit targets that nobody else, frankly, could even see, when they were outside of their view. Everybody getting kind of taken up in the euphoria of the moment and trying to make recommendations for coins that I saw very clearly within 3 to 6 months' time would leave a lot of my viewers and a lot of retail destroyed, just absolutely wrecked. So, pardon me for tooting my own horn there, but hey, if I don't do it, I don't know who else is going to, right? Like, I've tried to bring a contrarian take that when it's necessary to keep us, the Mind Your Biz community, from total ruin. So I'm going to keep on doing what I've been doing for years now, and that is, seeing targets that nobody else can, and speaking truth to stupid. Sometimes when that's what it comes to, right? We'll keep on speaking that truth. All right, so yeah, unfortunately, we see this boomerang effect. I was saying in the miner roundtable, thank you again, Serpent X Tech, for setting that up. I was saying to everybody else there who had a gigahash or 5 gigahash or more in a warehouse that I had been scaling down when it made sense to scale down, and I could actually get top dollar for my hardware. That's investment capital that can go back into coins that I like, right? I needed to go liquid with my cash reserves. And other people were saying, well, no, I'm definitely going to do Raven. I'm definitely going to mine Caspa, or I'm definitely going to mine Ethereum Classic, whatever it is. That's fine. But profits are not so good right now. It's a lot more difficult to maintain profitability on a lot of those coins. So appreciate you guys smashing the like and again share while we are live. But yeah, this is the current state of things over a week, and we mine the averages, right? We don't mine the daily. However, I think also some of the fear and greed that we're seeing in the markets right now is a product of the Bitcoin price. I've reverted to a 2-hour chart here so we can see kind of how things played out after Jerome Powell's Fed announcement. What happened right here? Leading up to the announcement, we saw this huge swing up and then a massive sharp drop down on the 2-hour candles here. We're going to go back to our 1-day chart after we take a look at this really fast, but I think that the general trend is good, but we probably need to define a new range. Now that we kind of like zoom into the more recent history here, we've been looking at this downward channel for a while. I don't know that this will be maintained right over the long term, and I'm not trying to pretend to be some technician, right? Some technical analyst. This is not what I do, right? Nobody tunes in for that. We got Crypto Blood in the chat. Guys, say hello to Visiting Royalty. Let me make sure that when Crypto Blood is in our chat, we roll out the red carpet. We gotta give this man moderator status. Nobody speaks over my friend Blood. All right, so let me go back to sharing that chart though. This is, yeah, I think that our general kind of like, and this is not a technician's perspective, right? This is just a miner's perspective, really zooming out a lot. I think that this general trend downward is, for my part, right? When we mine averages, right? When we're not taking profits except for every week or every month, from a miner's perspective, you do have to zoom out. And that's why this chart is shaped this way. Just so, you know, our visiting TA royalty, right? Our actual analyst that's in the chat today knows what our methodology is, right? Why we appear, like why we choose this view of the charts. It's because you have to zoom out when you're mining. You have to zoom out when you're running validator infrastructure, which is what we're going to be more tuned into here on Mine Your Biz. A little bit less of the GPU mining only, and a little bit more of the general purpose node and validator infrastructure. Guys, I've been amassing server racks and server machines for a while I've been scaling down my GPUs. Why would I do that? Well, I've been doing that in the service of running my own self-hosted wallets, my own self-hosted blockchains, my own e-commerce payment gateways, and then, of course, validator infrastructure. But also things like my own private cloud, encrypting the miner roundtable. You may have noticed that there were not one of the GPU miners that understood what I was talking about when I mentioned the software that allows you to run your own full Ethereum validator node, right? Or your own full node and possibly validator infrastructure, self-hosting that at home. Not one. Not BBT, not Son of a Tech. And I love these guys. They're absolute brainiacs, but none of them have been focusing on this thing. Mine Your Biz has been focusing on this thing. Let's read between the lines together. Let's avoid wreckage by shutting down the ignorance, right? We got to learn more, we got to know more, we got to be better every day. So here's our 1-day chart again. We'll zoom back in, and it looks like the chopsticks don't really help us out all that much, right? So this is normally our view. We could start going to a 1-week view even. I think that might be appropriate. Let's try that out for maybe another week or two. And I think that's maybe more in line with what we need to look at as Mine Your Biz, right? So now we see those breakouts. They don't look as severe on that channel that we drew, but it's also a very long time frame. So we might tighten up that time frame. We might kind of get more, take a look at this movement or this pattern right here and start to identify, if we can, some kind of a channel downward. I still believe we're heading towards this the blue line, right, of value, right? Like the generic cornflakes, right? The blue line of crypto purchases. And I think that the Fed, that 75 basis point hike yesterday that Jerome Powell announced, I think they're trying to give us that discount. Whether we choose to see that or not, we're going to get discounted Ethereum. We're going to get discounted Bitcoin. We're going to get discounted altcoins. Everything else that we see here in crypto bubbles that's on that's on sale is going to continue to be on sale. Now, some of these, of course, they're on sale because they're fundamentally weak, right? ethw, fundamentally weak. Raven, I wouldn't say it's fundamentally weak as much as it just, it's still a project that's searching for its core use case, right? It's still finding that product market fit. But the rest, right? XRP, kind of prematurely up. Paul D is here, and he's first. He says BTC USD doesn't look good, but BTC Chia looks great. You're not wrong. That's the thing. You're not wrong. So actually do expect follow-ups on Chia. I promised those for a while. Chia is one of those projects that is under the radar now, finally, because of the bloodletting of the market. These are the discounts that we're going to see in the coming weeks and months, and I'm 100% here for it, right? Like, I want to see everybody in the Mind Your Biz community win big on this discounted crypto. Let's see. Biddy says he likes me better without a shirt. Now, here's the thing. I'm just going to go sleeveless for right now. Without a shirt is comfy too, man. I just got to say, like, I got to start bringing like tearaway props everywhere I go because, let's just really, life is just really hard. Just really hard when you put in the work at the gym. Just so much harder. I kid. And, humble brags aside, guys, I feel very blessed and fortunate to have a body that works at my age. A lot of my peers who just let themselves fall into decay prematurely. No thanks. Not for me. All right. That BTC USD chart, though, yeah, here's the thing. Paul D mentions it doesn't look so great, but I think it looks exactly as we expected here on Mind Your Biz. Thank you, y'all, for sharing that the link. Just noticing we had a bunch of people just tune in. Appreciate you propagating that link as fast as you can. It really does help, guys. Every click really does count. YouTube is, we are engaged in a serious struggle for this kind of content on YouTube. So everything you can do to assist in sharing the signal about really anything crypto, and I mean literally from any creators who actually are putting in the effort, it makes a difference. We've got the commercial interests coming in. We've got various news and PR firms that are marketing and PR firms that are trying to put their own actors on screen to be able to create media. Independent media matters, right? Bloodalytics, who's in the chat right now, Crypto Blood, Rice TV. These are some of the voices that I think you can listen to very safely, and I think will help give you those counter indicators that you need to pay attention to. They very much read between the lines the way Mind Your Biz does, but in different areas, right? So I think you should be supporting everybody who's independent media publishers right now. So that 1 week chart, not that bad. The Goblin Dude in the chat says, yo, I have arrived, but I'm tired. I work graveyard shifts at my workplace. Oof. Wrecked. I apologize for asking you to get up so early to do this here today. But take a look at our cost to mine one full Bitcoin. Let's go into the S19 XP territory. We'll go with that 3,200 watts. We'll go with a pool fee of 1%. We'll go with electricity power of 8 cents, which we know we can find across the tracks. Totally doable. And you're going to get one full Bitcoin at a little over 11 grand USD. Plus your break-even electricity price over 13 cents. That's the way to go if you are engaged in Bitcoin mining right now, right? If you like pina coladas and getting Bitcoin in the rain, then y'all have to be on the cheapest possible power that you can source, right? That's pretty much, that's the bottom line there, right? So we already knew that, but 1% pool fee kind of gets you there. And the S19 XP or S19 J Pro, these are kind of what you need to be looking at. Efficiency over everything else, and then cheap to free power. That said, I'm going to just tell the Mind Your Biz community that I'm starting to get outreach from people who are telling me, hey, Seth, I've got some spare, it's crazy, but I've got some spare solar panels and I've got spare batteries. How can I help set up an off-grid mining operation with members of the Mind Your Biz community? And I was not expecting to see that. I was really not expecting to see people reaching out saying, like, I've got the means of production, but I don't have all the mining rigs that I want. So there is a mismatch right now, and it is community driven. It is grassroots. And I'm wondering if we, I'm wondering how we manage that. I haven't done that before. I don't run an escrow service. I don't run a brokerage. I have flipped hardware before, but I think probably right now, facing the market conditions that we do, I think it's more important that people just be connected. And if you need access to infrastructure, or if you need access to mining rigs, that we figure out how to make that work on one side of the community to the other. The Goblin Dude says the chopsticks never lie. The mining chopsticks really don't ever lie. That's the thing. You guys, I mean, like, we've been doing this for how long? And we're literally spitballing, and we're getting a better than 60% accuracy. I think in part it's because miners kind of know which way the wind's blowing. And I think because we pay attention to a little bit of the macro environment, I'm not like some macro analyst. I don't call myself even a fundamental analyst per se, but like here we are, right? It does seem to work. It does seem to work better than us trying to look for like cups and handles and specific formations that are like that are anywhere in like the 15-minute chart or zooming out to the other massive charts. 1 week or 1 day has served us just fine. So I think I'm going to continue that until we see the full correction of the Bitcoin markets, and I think that'll signal the first part of the return to profitability, and then a bull market, and then. I mean, we're nearly at that point where I'm very comfortable dollar cost averaging. We're nearly there. I mean, I mentioned anywhere in the green, you'd be happy on the long term, long years. But realistically, we'll be a lot happier if we buy at that range. All right, guys, What to Mine gives us some intel or gives us some data on the GPU mining profitability for right now, and it just doesn't look good, right? The at-home rate of 14 cents per kilowatt hour, not awesome. Let's go to 8 cents per kilowatt hour, so we have an apples-to-apples comparison to Bitcoin mining or to any kind of mining on ASICs. And it's kind of funny that it rearranges things here because we have profit for over 24 hours at that rate right there. And the RTX 3090 is the most profitable right now on Argon, right? The Argon 2D Nimic specific algorithm. Ryo currency is there, but it's not profitable. Grin is profitable on the 6800 XT. But I think the key takeaway for me is that it looks like the top of the line for both Team Green and Team Red are still in the profit, and their prices are not moving quite yet. We finally found $1,000 3090s and roughly $1,000 3090 Ti's, and I think that's extremely important for us to be able to get those discounted GPUs, but we're not going to see the full discount that we want to see until, drum roll, this happens. These guys need to launch. We need to see the RTX 40 series actually launch. And if you didn't see the announcement, I know a lot of other GPU mining channels, they did deep dives on some of this. Jay's 2 cents and all the tech channels, Jay's 2 cents, Linus Tech Tips, and of course, Gamers Nexus and a lot of others. They did some relatively, it's not even deep dive content there. They don't have engineering units. They don't have samples of any type to be able to start doing benchmarks on these machines. But they do have the information, and they got that information directly from NVIDIA very early. It's kind of funny, though, that being in the position that they didn't get any more information than they did, right? So the architecture is their 4th-gen tensor cores, new streaming multiprocessors, 3rd-gen ray tracing cores, and then something that's a little bit more relevant to me, because I do media production, and I'm very frequently, I use the NVNC coder. That is a really big deal, being able to encode video fast. Now, years ago, I talked about how we could have FPGAs that do this. We could have little devices that look like, about this size, same size as like an M.2 drive. You could be adding this to your machine, and that could have a custom instruction set that would just encode video. And this would be a product that I would buy if it were whatever, $50 to maybe $200. I'd be happy to buy that because it makes my life easier. But with GPUs, I like getting a GPU that has these instructions built in and makes video encoding faster. Maybe I'm a bit of an odd duck, but that's one of the most important things to me. Gaming performance, FPS, not the most important thing. Memory, maybe a little bit, right? So a bit higher memory size to put in scene files, right? For when I am working in 3D or when I'm doing video editing or when I'm occasionally gaming. It's nice to have, better video RAM or more video RAM to be able to do more in games that I play. But I play old games. My kids play relatively old games. We're not always buying the latest AAA titles. Like we don't have Cyberpunk here at home yet. And when we do, though, I know I'm going to feel that a little more, the lack of having the latest generation card. So I am kind of considering getting one of these when it comes out because of all the additional performance benefit that it claims to give, right? So cutting edge GPUs, okay, they've got the Ada Lovelace architecture, which is funny, scientist names. Oh, wow. Okay, that's what they keep on doing, right? Scientist names. AI accelerated performance with DLSS 3. Let's see. Yep. So NVIDIA Broadcast Studio for voice and video. I'm using that right now. I don't use a green screen anymore. And I know it's not perfectly cleaned up behind me, but as far as its AI detection of a human being, like it's figuring out that those are human hands. It's figuring out that this is a hat that I'm wearing, figuring out that's my chair behind me. It does a really good job of not needing to use a green screen. And then I can travel and continue to make media. Also cleaning up my audio really well, assisting in getting even better levels for my mic. So I'm convinced of that too. This has become a game changer for me, NVIDIA Broadcast. And then the NVIDIA encoder, right? Now, they haven't mentioned it here, but there is an update to the NVIDIA encoder. That's what I was getting at before. So the 40 series kind of does make sense to me, more so than the 30 series. So I'm kind of looking at this and saying, for a workstation purchase for myself, this might make sense for me. Like, you tell me what you think. Are you looking for cheap RTX 30 cards, or are you looking for the new RTX 40 cards? I think I've got my answer. I think the 40 cards might be more what I'm looking for. And then when we do find that there are new algorithms that are GPU mineable, I would love to be on the cutting edge now while I'm spec mining. That, my mind has changed on that thing. I am okay with alpha buying there. Andrea Thigpen asks if I've ever tried to live stream on a different service, Live Peer. No, I have not. And then Gundy7things says, prices should be nice and low by Christmas. LOL. Yeah, right? It should be. That's clearly by design. But then we're also going to see that AMD will announce some new cards as well. I just don't know that they have as much built in that is as similar to the NVIDIA encoder or NVIDIA Broadcast Studio. NVIDIA Broadcast Studio has become so incredibly useful in my day-to-day. Like, it's done so much more for my productivity. If I'm just like cutting to the chase, it's done more for my productivity than most other tools, except for when I'm encoding. Guys, I've basically cut all ties from proprietary video editing software, and I'm using Kdenlive exclusively, and I have been for a year now. And I mean, I used to get the when it was Sony Vegas, because I did some work for them many years ago. I continue to get their latest updates without any cost, and I still prefer the open source video editors over the commercial video editors. Yeah, Adobe's it's comfortable, it's familiar in some ways. Yeah, DaVinci is very powerful and it's the bleeding edge, but I'm not out here trying to become a commercial video editor. And I don't need to deliver that kind of work to another team of people who are like, well, we need standards and it's got to be this format. And even with the marketing that I do within Web3, I've convinced, thankfully, like I just checked in with the animating team that I helped to work with. I've convinced the animating team to go with open source tools. Guys, they are just better. And something that NVIDIA is not very good at is open source drivers. AMD is phenomenal at that. So that might be an influence on my decision as well. And we won't know about AMD's new cards, right? Their 7000 series, RX 7000 series cards until October, late October? Possibly even November. Is that what I'm hearing? So it's going to be a while before we know. Let's see. The Goblin Dude asks, mineyour.biz, have you talked about how EVGA is not going to be making GPUs? I have not talked about that yet, but it is going to impact the markets in ways that we don't really understand yet. Something that I think will be interesting for us to take a look at when we're looking at used GPUs here on the channel is we might need to take a look at what the price delta is for EVGA cards. And as prices come down for the 30 series RTX cards, EVGA might be the way to go, or they might become like this sort of like collector's item, like really highly prized, highly valued thing when the 40 series launches. We don't know yet, right? It's going to be very unpredictable because miners who are convinced of EVGA, right, and the platform, they're going to want to hold on to theirs, right? And then gamers that really like EVGA, they're going to want to hold on to theirs also because they're just very well built. It's a good value. Or they're going to want to acquire them. So we'll see. The price of these used EVGA 30 series cards could go way up or it could go way down. And rumor has it that there's a lot of 30 series cards that are still in inventory. So there could be a lot of new in-box EVGA cards that are the RTX 30 series that have just not been sold yet. And by a lot, I mean like we could potentially see that there are like 6 figures worth or more of these cards that are new in box that are being warehoused right now. This does happen. This has happened. Definitely without talking too much about, Oh my gosh. We got some other comments in the chat about various kinds of software. Stereo 2 says, I don't like the way Adobe forces you to pay a monthly subscription. Yes, I don't like it either. Guys, I didn't intend to kind of like to pivot this way, but let me show you a couple of tools that will absolutely sever your dependence on Adobe. Are you ready? I wasn't going to go this route with today's content, but I feel like I owe this to you, right? Like I've been doing this since well before it was cool. I was doing this while I was obtaining a degree in filmmaking, and I was interning at DreamWorks Animation. Do you want to see the secret tools that I've been using that are open source all that time for over 15 years? Okay, I wasn't planning on doing this, but if you want to, I'll show you. Here it is. Top of the list is the GIMP, the GNU Image Manipulation Program. And before you say like, oh my gosh, I hate, oh my gosh, I hate that. I hate that software, and it's totally lame, and you know, Photoshop for the win, and Photoshop's way better. Hear me out. What you don't know is that internally at DreamWorks Animation, they use that open source code to develop their own tools. Yes, Photoshop is used at major studios like DreamWorks Animation, but they also take open source code like this and make it better for their own purposes, so they have their own image pipeline. Didn't know that, did you? And the more you know, right? There you go. The better you'll do. So the GNU Image Manipulation Program, or GIMP, is totally free and open source. It runs on Mac OS, Windows, or Linux, and it runs great on Linux. There's no compromise between those three platforms. Then various other open source like OSs. It runs just fine on those. But that's how I've gotten rid of my dependence on Photoshop. And it's so popular now that, did you know that when you go to like for example, the Amazon merchandise marketplace, when you want to upload designs to Amazon to get your t-shirts sold or whatever, hoodies and pillows and stuff, they have templates for GIMP right alongside the PSD templates that you would normally download for Photoshop. You didn't know that, did you? The entire commercial world recognizes GIMP as a valid alternative to Photoshop. You don't have to pay a monthly subscription if you're primarily using Photoshop. Okay, what do you need to do to get rid of your dependence on Illustrator, right? The Illustrator software. You might be thinking, okay, well, maybe Figma, that's supposed to be really good, right? An online scalable vector graphics software. Well, Adobe just bought that too. They just acquired Figma. So you'd be okay in thinking that before, but now that Adobe's buying it, all bets are off. They're probably going to make it a commercial offering and software as a service, like Blood is saying. Well, you can instead go to Inkscape, right? Inkscape.org. Exactly as you see it spelled here, Inkscape.org. And this allows you to create scalable vector graphics, scalable vector art that can be scaled all the way up to the size of a billboard, or to cover the side of a building, or to be delivered to printers or print partners if you were to like do large scale signage for a trade show or something. Or it can be scaled all the way down to, like enamel art, or to button and pin art. So it totally works for all kinds of applications in between. Plus, it allows you to create web graphics that are SVG and just that modern browsers can load quickly and efficiently. So that gets rid of your dependence on Illustrator. Okay, we've got probably 2 out of the main 4 pieces of software that you would use Adobe for, right? The last 2 would be Premiere and then After Effects. After Effects is a little bit more difficult to get rid of, but let me show you how. Let's start with how we get rid of Premiere. And we get rid of Premiere very simply by going to Kdenlive. This is what I've done. All 3 of these pieces of software so far that you're hearing me talk about, I use. Just to be very, very clear, there's no piece of software that I've mentioned so far that I don't have skin in the game to use. Gundy Stuff and Things is saying DaVinci Resolve. Well, yeah, DaVinci Resolve is a valid option. Yes, there's a free version of it, but there's no version of DaVinci Resolve that runs reliably on Linux, even though they say it does. Doesn't run reliably on Linux, and there's no version of it that is actually open source. So while it's very powerful software and it does all kinds of cool stuff, like a thing called optical image flow, right, or image stabilization, time remapping, motion blur on certain effects and things, which is it's actually pretty fancy stuff when you dig into how video software works. DaVinci Resolve offers a lot if you want something that's just free. But if you want something that's free as in speech, not free as in beer, then you need to go with Kdenlive. And in my experience so far, the reason that Kdenlive just curb stomps everything else is not just because it's got a similar user interface, 3-color wheel, color correction if you need it, but I mean it does things like that you wouldn't expect. It does things, for example, that on the audio tracks, if you wanted to apply full denoising for vocal tracks of your audio, you can apply that effect to the entire track, and if you have spoken word, like background noise, automatically detected. It's AI backed. It's AI reinforced noise reduction of vocal tracks. So media producers like us that primarily make for the web and for YouTube, like that's built in for free and open source. If you don't like it, you can go to their GitHub and you can submit a pull request to change that. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, beyond that, on the rendering side, right? So if you're a little bit more nerdy and you want to kind of really dig in to the rendering side, I've discovered that, as I mentioned before, with these NVIDIA cards, right, and with their video rendering performance, it's directly applicable to my experience in Kdenlive because I can adjust the render scripts, right? The render profiles where it's like, oh, make this for the web, make this for, make it for Twitter, or like, these sizes. I want it this size, this bit rate, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you can use FFmpeg and you can use all kinds of open source backend rendering tools for Kdenlive that you can't do. You can't even touch this kind of stuff at as low a level, like as close to the hardware with Adobe Premiere as you can with Kdenlive. Like it actually destroys Premiere as far as your ability to create render scripts that compress your video and then render it in the format that you want and have such a small file size with such high quality. Like I have never gotten the types of renders that I get from Kdenlive ever out of Vegas Pro, out of Premiere, or out of DaVinci Resolve. Like ever, let alone Final Cut back in the day when I was forced to use that on a Mac. Like I've never gotten this level of quality and low file size, and now because I'm able to, with those scripts, I'm able to write in support for this, right, for the NVIDIA GPUs. It's also like super fast. It's always at least faster than real time, if not like 2 to 4 to sometimes 10 times as fast as real time. So a 20-minute video renders out in anywhere between 5 to like maybe 13 minutes. It's pretty common for me to not have to wait around, have like edits in place, titles, graphics, additional sound, whatever else. Stereo 2 says he uses Handbrake to compress video. Imagine not needing to use Handbrake. That's what I'm talking about, because you're using the same compression engine inside of your video editor. That's why I like Kdenlive. You're not double rendering anything, or you're not rendering to an uncompressed version and then recompressing it with Handbrake. It's all done in one pass. Guys, I can't speak to it highly enough. Kdenlive has actually changed the way that I make media. And then the last thing that I want to share with you, and this is going to be a little more rough for some people because they'll be like, oh, I need a really good, it's called a compositing, right, and effects software instead of After Effects. Well, you may already see this coming, but Blender technically can do video. It can do all kinds of compressing or all kinds of compositing as well. But Blender is one of the most frequently used 3D suites in the world now. And I was able to convert somebody that works on the animating team for a marketing group that I work with, able to convert them from Cinema 4D over to Blender, and they were like, "Oh, I love it. My renders are better. They're cleaner. I get better sort of like lighting effects and better scene quality in my renders on Blender than I did in Cinema 4D." Unless you were to buy, the higher performance packages from Maxon, right, to get the various like GPU enabled renders and stuff. So it's kind of crazy. Gundy thing says editor, inside an editor, inside an editor, inside an editor. It's totally true. That's one thing about Blender that'll maybe drive you a little bit nuts is the UI. So if you use After Effects on a regular basis, you'll be like, I don't know if this is a replacement for After Effects. There are other special effects or effects software suites that are open source, but Blender is kind of the most visible one. It has the most development. There are more developers working on it than any other effects package. So all 4 of the packages that I showed to you, Blender, Kdenlive, Inkscape, and GIMP, these have, they've got tens of thousands of man hours of development that's been done essentially for free or with grants, and then committed to the free and open source code bases of the world. So these will always be free. And they compete very, very well with Adobe's offerings. So there you go. Paul D asks a relevant question. Will Kdenlive, like Premiere, reliably crash after I forgot to save for 15 minutes? Yeah. It can. It possibly can. One thing that I'll say, the caveat, mTOR, of all of these things is that GIMP, Inkscape, Kdenlive, and then Blender, because they are free and open source software, almost without fail, works best on Linux. So you will have the best experience with these software suites on Linux. And now with OBS running so well on Linux as well, then I'm always at that point where I'm like, I want to go back. The one thing that's been holding me back, actually, believe it or not, has been the NVIDIA Broadcast Studio that is Windows only. So that's been the only thing that's kept me on Windows for media production, basically the only thing. And then I do have a really great EQ filter for my mic. So my audio sidechain for my mic is affected by running VST plugins that way. So guys, huge pivot, I know, massive pivot from what I had planned for content that was crypto specific, but I just want to make it very clear, it came up. It came up and it felt like a really good thread to tug on. So hopefully that helped unlock some people's understanding of why mineyourbiz is a total and complete freak nerd. Here's the thing, man, don't let people pigeonhole you. I don't. Right, I don't let people pigeonhole me. It's oh, you're a meathead. I'm definitely not a meathead. Oh, you're a nerd. I'm definitely not just a nerd. Oh, you're into crypto. Nope, wrong again. You can be a modern day Renaissance man. I'm trying to be a modern day Renaissance man, right? I think I'm putting in the right effort to do that. So Deadwood says we enjoy learning. I appreciate that. I enjoy sharing if I can, right? This is just what I do, guys, and I'm not like some special person. I really don't think I am. These are just tools, right? And we can all have access to them. So. Appreciate you giving me some encouragement there. Hivon statistics show us that right now Ethereum Classic is the most mined algorithm, right? Or most mined coin. Other takes up a full 21% at this point, and that's not a very fair assessment, right? We see Caspa and Raven, and then we see Ergo, and to a lesser extent ethw, to a lesser extent Ethereum, and then Flux way down here. Something tells me that this is not quite right. I think that Flux is actually being mined more than is being let on here, but there could just be a lot of speculative stuff that's being mined in this 21% sort of other category. And then the algorithms are ethpow and Caspa, Ethash, etc., all down the line. So I wonder what really goes into that other sort of bucket right there. It tells us a lot more, but having that account for a full 21%, all this random crap, SHIB, who's mining SHIB? Ycash, there you go. Ycash at 0.01%. That's okay. Baba coin, man, Baba Yaga coin, that's great. All these other speculative pieces of junk. It's kind of cool to see though, right? It's funny that Baba coin has come up multiple times under different names. That's not quite right. See, Baba coin multiple times at 0.01%. Zcash. Zcash getting throat punched. That's hilarious. It says mining pool stats. Yeah, mining pool stats would be a really good place for us to go as well. I like looking at Hivon statistics because I love how granular this is. And as a platform, they don't really have much of an incentive to paint things a certain way, other than to say you should use their service, right? And I'm a little biased that way too, but just to say, I think it's a useful piece of data for us to take a look at. But yes, we do have miningpoolstats.stream lined up as well. Paul D says, don't tell them about my Ycash hustle, my yek. Yek. It sounds like some kind of a onomatopoeia, right? What is a yek? It's a thing you do after you after you drink too much green tea or too much wheatgrass, right? Like you yak. Yak. It's the sound that your cat makes after you give it its medicine. Yak. Or I mean, guys, I don't want to make the rules. This is just what the stuff sounds like, right? So talking about the Fed discounts, we talked about not the Vasil update just yet. GPUs and profits we'll get to in just a minute. 360 news we totally diverged from. But yeah, let's jump into mining pool stats.stream. That was a great suggestion. Appreciate that, Deadwood. It's already up and running for us to take a look at. Andrea Thickpen says, could you please put some clothes on? It's hard to pay attention to this nerd tech. I'm trying so hard to understand GPUs and ASICs. No! You don't tell me what to do, Andrea. Okay, there we go. Now the shirt's gone. All right. See what you've made me do. What have I become, Andrea? What have I become? A shirtless man, for one. There we go. Threw it on the ground. Okay. Appreciate you, though. All right. Now y'all are just going to have to wonder whether or not I'm wearing any pants, right? Because I never stand up. Yeah. Except for when I'm at the standing desk. So there you go. I mean, sooner or later, we're all born shirtless. Sooner or later, we all go shirtless. That's spoiler alert. That's what happens in the end. All right. So Bitcoin, apparently no track change in the here's the thing, guys. I've got t-shirts for days. This industry has given me so many t-shirts. I could do this all day. I literally could. I could just keep on putting them on and ripping them off. That's just how we roll. So the Goblin Dude says proof of pants. I'm gonna let y'all wonder. It's like proof of stake. Are the validators really what we think? Are they really decentralized? Proof of pants is the same thing. You're just gonna have to go on a little faith. Besides, I might get canceled if I stand up. All right, so Dogecoin is moving up, 37% pop, though it's not very clear exactly, or in difficulty rather. 37% up, no difficulty adjustment rather in Bitcoin. The net hash also is up, is a down. Actually, it does look like it's going down. Same with Dogecoin. Everything's kind of like moving down in its net hash, which to me is a phenomenal sign of discounted hardware. It's coming, right? Can you feel that? Can you sense that? Can you just tell the market is trying to give us really good, cheap hardware? I am here for it. Do you realize that the hardware market is one of the only markets that is not moving with CPI? So it's one of the only ways that we could get ahead as consumers is to pay attention to the discounts on tech and then make that work for us, whether it's proof of work or it's validator infrastructure for proof of stake. And for my part right now, I will no longer distinguish between the two. Ethereum is not going back. Cardano is not going back. There's all kinds of other networks that are never going back from proof of stake. And I'm not saying that I'm a fan of it, but what I am saying is that for us, as gearheads, as tech heads, we know better, right? Like the reason we got into mining was we could turn a profit from hardware that was otherwise just sitting around for us playing games. Well, what if we can do the same thing for with the CPUs we have lying around, the Raspberry Pis, maybe a server rack or two, an old PC, then just adding a couple of SSDs, right? Like if all it cost were $100 to get to get a redundant 1 terabyte SSD RAID in that system, but then you knew you could earn $300 this year passively above the cost of power, like that's not a bad deal. That's not bad at all, right? Like it's not a lot, but it's better than having to sit around and do nothing. My shirt was doing nothing, right? So I got rid of it. But if it were paying the rent, if it were giving me 300% on the cost of cloth, I'd get more t-shirts all day, right? That would help. So, Andrea, thanks for the challenge. I appreciate that. This is an interactive show. There's proof of live stream, proof of comments, right? I'm actually reading comments, so that helps. Stereo 2 says proof of shirt. We're way past the Rubicon, Stereo 2. I'm sorry, Senor the Don. No, that's ancient history now. That's like 15 block confirmations already. So going down the list, we are seeing that because of that hash rate dropping, I think this is very bullish for the cost of most hardware. Cardano, of course, has a brand new ASIC that's been released, so that's going to cause problems in terms of other hardware prices. So I'm not expecting too much out of that. Flux also, because it has node rewards and because it has the parallel asset rewards that would then help you in being able to redeem those to be able to run a node. We're going to see a weird shift of the economics there, right? Of the tokenomics by way of mining. Coin and Chia, this also to me is a very bullish sign to see they're also dropping. Kind of want to see what the F 7-day change. What am I? Oh my gosh! I keep on talking about the wrong thing, guys. I'm literally effing dyslexic. You know what? It was a mistake to take off the shirt. I went dyslexic by taking off my shirt. What have I done? What have I done, Andrea? I blame you. I kid. I can only blame myself. Guys, just a reminder also, if you're creeping here on the live stream, smash thumbs up, share the live stream. Crypto Garden Mom. This is like the one live stream where I've had more than like 0 females and like, hey, wow, you're shirtless. That's interesting. Yeah, well, you had to be here. There was a moment. There was a vibe. I'm just following the vibe, making it right. My wife is literally right across the room right there, and she's like, she can't wait. She can't wait for this live stream to be over to tell me exactly what to do, because I've been very naughty on this live stream. All right, so taking a look at the at the price, though. The price is what's dipping, and ideally we do want to see that hash rate drop as well. Hey, mining pool stats, if you're watching, we've done this before, guys. We've been able to get some of the data aggregators and the online tools like Chia Calculator. They listened to some of the feedback when I did my videos 18 months ago. Hey, mining pool stats, if you're watching, please give us a graph of the net hash. We need to see a graph of the net hash, not just the difficulty adjustment. Okay, so we need that net hash calculation. I know it's on the individual pages. I think it's on the individual pages, so that should give us help there. But that's not as helpful as seeing it right here in the full data overview. We need it all here. Yep. Yeah, even zooming out, there's no additional field there, and we need that additional column. That's going to help us out a ton. So let's just jump into the Ethereum Classic, see if that's helpful there. The Deadwood says, proof of stake was manipulable by creating multi-deposit addies in the wallets. Each deposit addie accumulated at its own rate, which outperformed one addie with a large number of coins, pending wallets. Man, Stereo 2 says, wife watching. Hello, Mrs. The Dawn. I'm glad you are here. Buongiorno. I'm sorry. I will do better. Gosh, you know what's funny? We know God is watching too. So guys, there's no two ways about it. I'm just in trouble. Fine. Okay, I'll take the L. All right, so scrolling down the list, though, we do see, the network, the net hash we see on a per pool basis, but we still don't necessarily see the overall net hash being measured in a graph, and it would be so helpful to see that. So I'd love to see that on this tool. I know it's a lot to ask. They aggregate a lot of data, and then like a jerk, I wind up like hiding their ads and stuff here too, right? So just block element, yeah, I'm that guy. So I know I'm a jerk, but here's the thing. I'll also I make no apologies. I'm just going to keep doing that too. So the Goblin Dude says, you're already doing great, Uncle. All's good. Stereo 2 says, my wife told me to do push-ups too. Guys, you have no idea. My kids, they wake up to the sound. I haven't started using a whistle yet, but they wake up to the sound and be like, how's it going, son? Time to do push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. Like, they don't even just do push-ups. Like, we do the full body thing. Here's the thing. The hard way is the easy way. In the long run, we all know this, right? We all want to be strong enough to meet the challenges that the unforeseen challenges of 6 months from now or 2 years from now. So today, the hard way is the easy way. Anyway, I'll wax less philosophical now. Yeah, I want to see that added to miningpoolstats.stream. We talked about this already. Let's get into news. Quick blurb about the Russian officials approve use of crypto for cross-border payments. This is not me condoning anything that's happening in that region at all, but I will say that this news is bullish. It's bullish for crypto in general. It's bullish everywhere. Guess what? When we were sending aid to Ukraine, most of us, when we were using crypto, well, that's exactly what we did. They approved crypto for cross-border payments. Technically, certainly for donations, they had no problem accepting our donations in crypto. So that's already happening in the region, and we're already supporting, apparently here in the United States, supporting the side that, according to the official story, we have to, without without questioning what our leaders are telling us. They're telling us that we have to do that. The Deadwood in the chat. coming through, says 200 push-ups a day now. That is awesome. That is amazing. And good on you. Keep that up. Don't ever stop, right? That's the thing. 200 push-ups a day is absolutely obtainable, and it's as a habit, that's great, man. I actually kind of slack when I'm doing push-ups. I'm only doing like 100, but then I wind up getting them like out of the way. It's just like a checklist thing, right? Where it's like, all right, push-ups done, and then I move on to other stuff. I'm much more heavily involved in weights, and then I have specific protocols that I use to make sure that I don't slack off in terms of strength, versus mass, right? So, but awesome, keep that up, man. That's a great habit. Apparently, gosh, what's his name? This is so terrible. Black comedian, real short. It's so terrible. He's done a lot of movies with The Rock. He 5 sets of 40. Man, that is legit. Man, Deadwood, you're speaking my language. I might get into that. That's really good. The Goblin Dude asks, does Jackie Chan still do 1,000 push-ups a day? I don't know, man. I don't know if he does, but I know that this comedian, man, I am so terrible. It's the "it's about to go down" guy. I'm so bad. Anyway, Kevin Hart, thank you, Automatic. Good grief. Yeah, my brain is just like half there this morning. But apparently he still does about 300 push-ups a day. So he does like 100 in the morning, 100 midday, 100 in the afternoon. It's a pretty cool routine. And then a crunches, I think it is like 1,000 a day. So on crunches. So it's great, guys. These are things you can do anywhere. Nobody can take this stuff away from you. But everyone's dogpiling. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I got it. Automatic beats. He beat you to the punch. So, but I think this is really bullish for us to see that there's official approval of this. We've seen that. It's important. It's really important. So, the Bank of Russia reportedly is allowing crypto exchanges to operate legally and not accepting crypto as legal tender. It's very different, right? Very, very different. So necessary to do this within Russia with entities supervised by the central bank, which are required to comply with anti-money laundering and know your customer requirements. So they're getting on board is what it's obvious that they're doing, right? So I think this is very bullish for crypto in general. Sorry, is bullish. Yes, I think, yes, quite. The news is bullish. I am bull now. We are all bull. Yes, regime said we're bull. You be bull with me. Is good. All right, so I'm happy about that. Let's talk about Vasil, the Vasil hard fork. Most people are talking about it without really understanding what it actually does. I was not content with the news that I was able to pick up about the Vasil hard fork. I'm not a Cardano maxi, and none of this is meant to be any kind of an endorsement. Let me quickly disclaim you. I am not telling you which coins to buy. Everybody right now is about to sell the news, right? This is news now. This is no longer a rumor. Let me just be very, very clear. Cardano is no longer a rumor. It is news. If you try to jump in now, you're going to get dumped on. We saw it with the ETH merge as well, right? Let's be very clear about that. Investor narratives are okay, but you know what's a stronger narrative? The fact that the Fed is raising interest rates. We're going to see everything drop. We're going into a macro recession. Everything is dropping, right? Rather, every asset class is dropping. But with inflation, the cost of regular stuff is going up, right? Still, they're still trying to combat that. So, the Deadwood says I just did 40 right now. Hey, oh man, come on, that was good news. Oh, anyway, I won't read that out loud. The Deadwood is revising what he's going to write there. I won't read it out loud. Respect your wishes to make that private, but I read what you wrote, and that's awesome. I'm proud of you. I really am. That's great. Seriously, guys, these are things that like. It makes you feel good to be. It makes you feel happy to be alive, right? When you move, movement is life. It absolutely is. Paul D says, mortgage your house, buy ADA, Mind Your Biz 2022. Yes, or MYB 2022. That's the other guy. That's mind your baloney. That's the other MYB said that for sure. Yeah. But excited about learning more. Here's what got me excited. Here's what the hard fork actually does. I wanted to understand what it actually does. So it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to allow inputs, and the change will allow inputs and UTXOs to be used in scripting contracts without spending them. This is kind of a big deal, right? UTXOs to be used in scripts without actually spending the UTXOs, or being able to account for UTXOs and then use them in a script. That's kind of like using the stored amounts, and it flips UTXOs into something closer to the account model, or almost like this is me explaining it badly. It's almost like creating an NFT snapshot of multiple UTXOs into a smart contract. That's kind of cool, right? So finding a non-fungible representation of those UTXOs, whatever the amount is, the unique amount, and putting it into a smart contract. This could be transformational for Bitcoin as well. That's the one thing about Cardano and all development on Cardano that could be relevant to Bitcoin is that since it's a UTXO system and not an account-based system like Ethereum and doesn't use the EVM, then if it does work out, if it actually does work, which again, spoiler alert, we don't have confirmation that it actually works. If it does, then it helps Bitcoin. It goes on to say that this facilitates access to information stored on the blockchain without the need for spending and recreating UTXOs. So fewer dust transactions, less clogging of the mempool, more utility in smart contracts with the current absolute state of their blockchain, more being able to be scripted on that blockchain. It's really cool. As an architectural choice, I see why this might have taken them so long. At the same time, it is not proven. It's like proof of useful work. These things are not proven. They're still basically a giant science experiment. When smart contracts went live on Cardano last year, we saw that they were able to get through exactly one smart contract per block. It was not impressive. So we'll see what happens here. It may launch to big fanfare like this has right now, but then still wind up being a nothing burger 6 months from now. We have to wait and see. There really is no other option. So yeah, Cardano extends Bitcoin's accounting methodology to handle smart contracts, and the way they frame it is extended unspent transaction outputs, or EUTXOs. Paul D says, so like rolling up UTXOs. Yeah, essentially, it's like rolling up UTXOs. And it really isn't a native, smart contract usage per se. The dev says the ETH mempool is currently at over 430,000. Ooh, that's messed up, man. Yeah, the backlog is really bad on the Ethereum mempool. But here's the thing. The backlog on the Bitcoin mempool, because it only does one thing, there are no additional smart contracts that people are trying to interact with, or no additional assets that people are trying to access. There's nothing redeeming about the UTXO mempool backlogs, right? And being able to combine UTXOs on, say, like Zcash forks before the sapling update. It was bad too, right? There's a lot that's really tough with UTXO systems. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's a tough thing to figure out, like which direction we should go. But EVM has been adopted by so many other groups, and there are ways to scale on top of Ethereum where you don't have to use the main chain. And Polygon has been something that I've pointed to for a while, not because it's perfect, but because it's useful and it's usable today. So yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the bottom line. Other improvements that will come after Vasil will be something called diffusion pipelining. You know, so I'm less bullish on this. This is an important sort of framing of what Vasil does is reducing the size of transactions. So yeah, there were processing delays before, only one smart contract per block. Maybe we get to see more, right? Maybe we get to see more transactions per block, but we have to see after the Vasil hard fork update. Let's check to see what actually happens and not just get all excited about this narrative. Again, I think investors are going to get dumped on that jump on board now. So yeah, diffusion pipelining will be a way of increasing the speed and scaling, and it will use idle time on the network to propagate blocks ahead of their full validation while still validating headers. So this is almost like the SPV of or chain pruning on Bitcoin, but then that's not new. Diffusion pipelining. So you're gonna push through unvalidated blocks. How is this a feature? I don't get this, you guys. So I'm not a big fan of Cardano, and maybe it's because I'm not a developer and I don't really understand this system, but it doesn't make sense to me. Right? Where it's like, okay, well, that was tried in Bitcoin. It didn't quite work the way they wanted. That was proposed in Bitcoin by Satoshi, right? SPV. But then it was kind of called, less secure by people who are security experts. Satoshi wasn't like necessarily a security expert. There's all kinds of stuff that is being proposed on Cardano that I'm like, well, if this had merit, you could have pushed it through 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. Like, why is it taking so long? And why haven't we seen any real speed ups from any of this? But anyway, Here's something that is also relevant. Binance is going to limit withdrawals or suspend withdrawals of Cardano during these update times. And they're kind of giving people a heads up that you'll not be able to remove your Cardano from Binance while the hard fork is happening. Here's the Cardano block explorer as well. It's literally just explorer.cardano.org. This is the English version of it, and we can kind of watch things roll through per block. 9 transactions per block there. And what do we got? 23 there, and 1 there, and 11 there. What they don't show us is their mempool. The mempool is not very easily accessible from this main page, and I am just going to go out on a limb here and say it's because nobody effing uses it. There is no mempool backup because there are no real users, because there is no real use case yet. So yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical. Just a little bit skeptical, right? When you talk about this being so great and the way of the future. Like in terms of raw transactions per second, this is less average usage, it looks like, with the average block time of 20 seconds there almost? It's 15 seconds-ish, give or take, longer than... Oh, you know what? No. Man, that's weird. The nominal block time is way off. You had 2 blocks right on top of each other because they were relatively empty. It's crazy, right? So that's on average right there of 12 TPS? Less? Fewer? Guys, the data will set you free. I just don't... I don't know. This Vasil hard fork better knock our socks off. That's all I'm going to say about that. Goblin Dude says, I have a small hodl bag of ADA. That's just smart, right? To have a little bit of everything. I mean, why not? You hear some people, especially HAXX maxis, say like, well, that shows a lack of conviction. You didn't choose right if you're diversifying. Okay, cool story, right? Like I can have a daily driver car, and I can also have a minivan. If I really feel like it, I can even have an SUV and a truck, and I can still take the bus if I want to. Shut up. Mind your own business. Oh, mind your biz. Yeah, right. So I'm not going to tell anybody how to live. If you want to have ADA, have ADA. I might, as soon as we see the lowest pricing that we're going to get this cycle, I might even pick up some XRP. F it. Why not? What's it going to hurt to throw a little bit of money at XRP? Especially if they win the SEC case, which I do want them to win, then why not? What's it going to hurt? Coinbase is going to hand out ENS usernames to simplify wallet transactions. Guys, I got news for you. You got other channels that are saying, this is so great. This is what mass adoption looks like. Human readable names. Don't you want to just have your first name and your last name as your wallet address? Wouldn't that be awesome to put all of your financial information on a public ledger with your name on it? This totally ignores all of the flexibility, power, and best practices of blockchain. Satoshi talked about making multiple addresses for a reason. If you made them human readable and then used your name, it would totally defeat the purpose. But it's even worse than that, in my opinion. Let's read between the lines here. It says, Coinbase will be integrated with Ethereum name service. And let me be very clear. Being integrated with doesn't mean just compatibility with. They're not going to give you an ENS name, right, where it's .eth or it's whatever other top-level domains the ENS supports. Oh, no. It's going to be something that's totally unique to Coinbase. So you're going to get name.cb.id. So Coinbase is trying to get on board early with digital ID and having it attached to these addresses. What does that mean in terms of soul-bound tokens? What does it mean in terms of privacy in the future? They're just waving their hands and saying, yeah, don't worry about it. It's mass adoption. You want this. Here, dox yourself for us. There you go. Good user. Great. Now, do you need customer service? Don't ask us for that. We don't want to do that. Anyway, Exchange also said in the announcement, it's a necessary step in creating, and this is a red flag in my opinion, a more open financial system for the world. No, not more open financial system. This is actually a more oppressive financial system. If everybody used this as their docs all the time, then it would be a problem. Now, I finally broke down and got a couple of ENS names, but that's because these are wallets that I'm okay with the world seeing. But they don't have the majority of my crypto holdings, and they never will. Ever. and legislation that forces me to use it, I'll personally go lobby, right? If I have to, if it comes down to it, it'll be like, no way. You can't force people to dox this way on public blockchain systems. This is a huge problem. We need privacy. We need more privacy, not less. The Deadwood says, what's your thoughts on the SEC outlook on ETH and the node count in the U.S.? Does it give them leverage, or is it another grab from this administration to dump the market? Well, the Deadwood, you put it in very good terms there. It is another power grab by this administration to try to grab power. And that's just it. Like, that's what power grabs are. I don't know if it's necessarily them trying to dump the market per se, but I do know that it is them trying to manipulate users, right? They're trying to get users to just believe, like globally, that like, oh, well, anything that happens on Ethereum happens on U.S. soil. No, that's not true. That's not how blockchain works. That's not how consensus works. And if that's what it comes down to, then we need to start finding data centers around the world that will let us set up node infrastructure that totally changes the game. They never tried to claim that in proof of work. The same logic would apply when it's like, oh, well, 60% of the hash rate is happening here in the United States. I mean, it wasn't true, but if it were, right? Or 45% of the hash rate is taking place in the United States. So, that means that Ethereum is U.S. soil. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And it doesn't mean that the SEC gets to just rule as though anything that happens on Ethereum is some kind of U.S. crime. So those are my thoughts on the matter. It's a false metric. They didn't use that argument with proof of work. And it's funny. There were sort of like anti-China polemics that people were throwing out there when it came to Bitcoin mining, saying, whoa, it's majority controlled in China. That's bad. That means that, American exceptionalism is threatened by Bitcoin. Well, why don't you make the U.S. a more favorable place to mine and let miners come here without the fear of you doing crap like this? And saying, well, because the majority of mining happens here in the U.S. now, everything that happens on Bitcoin, Ethereum, or every other proof of work at the time network is now U.S. soil. Can't have it both ways. So you're totally right. Huge power grab. Huge power grab. And we have to resist at every possible level. Contact your senators. Contact your congressperson. Contact any lobbyist organizations that you think will be helpful. Be vocal, be heard. Do not let this happen without a fight. So just to be as clear as possible there, we can't let this happen. Blockchain is absolutely under constant threat by jokers like Gary Gensler. That kind of commentary, and then being unable to explain whether or not he thought decentralization was important in deciding whether something is a security or not, means that his comments about Ethereum maybe being a security now, it's like, okay, well then, again, what is it? You can't have it both ways. Do you believe that it's decentralization, or do you believe that having most of the nodes clustered in this centralized area makes it your domain? And in terms of it being a security, well, this happened at a certain time. What's the statute of limitations for being able to raise funds? Do you think that it's a security because there was a pre-sale at ICO? Well, that was 7 years ago. Get with the times. What do you mean? Like, how is that relevant? Paul D asks, isn't a lot of the internet on U.S. soil? Yeah, right? Like, okay, so the NSA and the FBI Cybercrimes Division, that means we are now the world police, right, of everything that ever happens online. Okay, well, tell that to Facebook and Twitter that let the Taliban have pages and call for literal violence in their languages. We got all kinds of problems, right, with online forums and with speech and with regulation. So, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of internet infrastructure that is on U.S. soil. There's a heck of a lot, like Germany punches above its weight, too, in terms of internet infrastructure. So does that mean we have to abide by the speech laws of Germany? Hell no. And I never would. That place is fascist AF when it comes to speech. I don't want to be held to Germany's freedom of expression laws. They're basically non-existent. Yeah, they got good privacy laws, but ironically, they don't have very good freedom of speech laws. Figure that one out. But yeah, I think this is actually not good. I think this is actually very bad news, and I think this is just another sign of Coinbase struggling to maintain relevance. Bottom line, that's how I'm going to frame that. The post-merge hard forks are here. Now what? Well, here's the good news. There's no clear infrastructure and roadmap for the ethpow network. Guys, we knew this. This was not rocket science. We knew it was doomed to fail. And you saw on Serpent X Tech and me just spitballing about how like, oh yeah, their Oracle data is all messed up or their market maker is all messed up. It's just funny. It's funny to watch, right? Like in the same way that it's not funny to watch a train wreck, but it's interesting to watch a train wreck. This is just funny. It's not even just interesting. It's funny. And then Ethereum Classic, right, is mentioned as the true proof of work fork, right, or main chain of Ethereum. We can probably, in my mind, I can safely support, like, hey, if you want to be involved in proof of work and you think that if the EVM is an important thing and you want it to be supported by proof of work, support Ethereum Classic. It's really that simple. And maybe we will see, with Gensler going so aggressively after Ethereum, maybe we will see a sea change, where maybe we'll see like a net shift in people's attitudes towards Ethereum Classic because of that. Like if Ethereum Classic is not deemed a security, bro, why wouldn't you move all these smart contracts? They're portable just like that. Change RPCs. That's all you have to, literally all you have to do, right? You might have to redeploy contracts, but for the user experience, you change the RPC in MetaMask. Use Ethereum Classic instead. Everything else works the same. We might be able to see quite a bit of TVL pulled off of Ethereum because of that ruling. We'll see. That said, do I want the SEC to rule that Ethereum is a security? No, I don't. I want them to back off. I want them to stop being so overly aggressive. It's dumb. Yeah. Wow, Coinbase news. Paul D says that Bitcoin is at an all-time high hash rate. Well, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look. Then how? I guess the difficulty just hasn't adjusted yet because people are pulse mining at this point. Maybe. Well, I'm not seeing over the last 7 days anyway. Don't see. Yeah, I don't see massive. There you go. You do see pulse mining on Antpool. That's funny. That is really funny. Or pool jumping or something. See that? Full 43 exahash down to 35. It's a full 10 exahash valleys there on Antpool. What the heck is that all about, right? Crazy. Pulse mining here on Brains too. See that? And it looks like it is in line with the same time frame. I haven't looked very closely at that before, but that's a very interesting formation to see. Ultimus Pool as well. Looks like it's got similar formation there. Lincoin. And maybe that has to do with their payout infrastructure or payout system, right? FPPS. Was it all FPPS? FPPS there. No description. FPPS, but that's most common. I don't think that it can be explained just by the payout system. Weird. Nothing seems to be growing to account for the change. So I wonder what that's all about from Coinbase, that news that you got. It's funny. Paul D says a terahash is 1/1,000,000th of an exahash. I know, it's crazy, right? Oh, I didn't catch the typo. Yeah, you said that they basically said it was 32 terahash total. Thank you. Yeah, I did not catch that. That's ironic. That Coinbase thought that was newsworthy. Funny times. All right, so saw the news for the Ethereum forks. Let's see some good news, guys, real fast. We don't always get to see this kind of good news. But a white hat hacker found a bug in Arbitrum, saved the day. We love seeing white hat hackers. There we go. So they got a reward of 400 Ethereum Ether after identifying a potential Arbitrum bug. That is great. This is a feel-good story in my book. This is really good stuff to see that, that this actually turned out the way we hoped that it would. So white hat hackers, rejoice. You got good news there. TX Street, we're gonna skip Etherscan. We're gonna use their gas tracker to pay attention to the gas fees instead. 30 cents on the low end, 38 cents on the high end. Never been cheaper. Bitcoin might even be more expensive right now. DeFi Llama, we're skipping. Map of Zones, we're skipping. You need to know about them. They're good tools. And our portfolios, we are skipping. We had a big old tangent today. Guys, thanks for watching with me. 360 News, we did take a look at. GPUs and profits, we took a brief look at. We're going to come back on the weekend, I think, this time with another live stream. Let me know. This is a long format or a long form conversation that I have on these live streams. Would you be okay with me shortening this, tightening it up to about 30 to 45 minutes, but doing it more frequently? Would you like that? Or would you like me to do more prepared content the way that I used to for Chia, the way that I used to for my spreadsheets, the way that I used to for other how-tos? You let me know what you'd like to see. I love the interaction, of course. The community is great. I think the Mind Your Biz community is one of the most upskilled and intelligent in the entire crypto community, but I'm biased, right? So I love hanging out with you guys in this format, but tell me what you'd like to see. Tell me what kind of news you want me to cover, and we will get back to that very, very soon. We'll have something this weekend. Remember, you're the reason I make this media. I love your face. Stay private, and keep your pants on.